I want your reaction to something. There has been an article doing the rounds, and the article is written by...
Matt
Say it again?
Matt Schumer.
Matt Schumer?
Yeah. Anyway, he's an entrepreneur who's had a couple of
CEO
technology and AI companies. I think he's still a CEO of an AI
of an AI
company.
company.
And so he's written this article.
Yeah.
Could you share a brief overview of this article?
The brief overview of the article is him being very worried that a lot of his friends and family are not aware
The true extent of AI.
and it's not an article about AI is going to destroy humanity.
Mm-mm.
It's an article that AI is going to take our jobs on a timeline that no one is prepared for.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
Much sooner rather than later. And he essentially argues that as a software engineer, he's already seen it happen. He's already using it in that way.
Yeah. A lot of these AI companies like Anthropic are saying how much of their code is being written by AI, which was traditionally written by humans.
Yeah, latest ChatGPT talks about it in their documentation that AI has been debugging itself and creating itself.
Yeah.
And so essentially what he's arguing is I guess, three things. One is the pace is exponential and we need to stop pretending it's not. Two, that is going to mean that people's jobs are being replaced in a way and at a pace that has not historically happened to white collar workers. And number three is there is no place to go to an easy, when we had factory revolutions and machinery, you could go and work in logistics, you could go and work in retail. His argument is that there are so few spaces that are going to be unaffected by this that the displacement is just not going to work. And therefore, he has some optimistic things about what you can do, but he wants people to be alert to it because he's very worried that a lot of people are just who aren't in this space.
I don't think it's a bad battle cry because I think there's a long tail of humanity who are not as engaged with AI. I think AI is useless, don't really get it, don't understand how to use it. And I think when we're in this bubble of working with entrepreneurs and technologists, we assume that a lot of people know what we know, but actually the majority of society actually are not as aware. So I think it's a helpful article in that respect. Yeah. But I also think the thing that's fascinating with this revolution is that with previous revolutions, we'd have like in the UK, we've got the Dartford Charge. It's a bridge. You used to have a toll booth and you used to have to get out your car, put £1 in and be able to drive through. Mm-hmm. And it used to be a person sitting at that toll booth. Yeah. And technology is completely like innovated that. So now you pay online and there's no person. That person who works that, was it blue collar job, has been replaced and has to go and find work. Yeah. When that was an issue, we weren't talking about it broadly and widely, but now we're talking about AI replacing lawyers and professional services and software engineers. Suddenly, the whole world has to care about it. And I think from that angle, we have to be sympathetic with the modern day worker who's always had this challenge and had to be resilient and figure out a way. Now the rest of us have to build that as well. Yeah. And I think that's an equalizer in a good way in that we all have to figure this out.
And also an equalizer in the sense that like if AI allows us to do things with so much less money and less education, right? Then actually it does potentially really equalize opportunity in that sense. But I think one of the really practical points I liked in the article, he makes the point that a reason that a lot of people are underestimating AI is that they used it 6 months ago and didn't find it helpful. Yeah. Or they're using it now, but they're using the free version. And the free versions are always
limited.
Well, they're limited, but they're also normally using an older version.
Yeah, intentionally, yeah.
So what someone is seeing when they're using, and I guess lots of people are just using ChatGPT, but if you're using Claude, whatever, if you're on your free version, you're not getting the same I'm getting because I'm paying £90 a month to use Claude. Yeah. Even the kind of free tier is, the paid tier you can get an in between, but for £90 a month, I'm getting a lot more bang for my buck. And it is suddenly able to do stuff that there's no way your free version can do.
I think the scope of what you can do is part of what society doesn't understand. So I think if we talk through examples, I think it would help people really understand this because when we talk about using Claude and these AI tools, they can write code now. You can create websites. You can get whole jobs done. It can review your legal contract.
It can write a website and then go through and test the website like it's a human, finding the things that are going to be buggy, causing friction, and not show you until it's happy it's done that, rather than just writing code that you then have to be able to check.
But I think there's two downsides that we don't talk about often enough that's really important. One is, if I feel like it's AI talking to AI, do I lose the value of like that I get from a human and from a creator being on the other side of content being created, websites being created, this contract being created? Do I lose the utility of that and appreciation for that when it's just computers creating it all? And I think the second thing is, because it's such a narrow set of contributors creating this AI, will it ever be equal? So do we not need a wider set of contributors so that we're all contributing to it, so that the blue collar workers, so that the person in the Philippines versus Brazil are all, so that actually we're creating AI for all rather than just AI by a few people for a few people?
Because we know it inherits the biases of the data sets of the builders. It's such a key point.
I asked it to design a room for Joseph the other day. And it designed this room and put a white boy in a chair at a table. And I asked it, why did you put a person, let alone a Caucasian person?
Yeah.
And it started apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But that is the AI that we're using.
100%. Even, and we've had, I can't remember what we were doing it for. We're doing a schools innovation challenge. And we asked it to mock up a image of kids in school. And obviously everyone's white. And actually, I think they were all men or boys. Sorry, not men. And we were like, can you make this more diverse? I didn't even think to give it a good instruction. I was just like, make it more diverse. And it came back, and I think it was still, I can't remember what it failed on, but it had still completely forgot. I think it just shows how it was
programmed. In my example, the funny thing is, I didn't ask for any characters.
Yeah.
I asked to design a room.
Yeah, classic.
But you tried to go the extra mile, and so I feel like we really need to think about who's contributing to creating this, and
100%.
If we're not going to regulate it, how do we slow it down until we really understand it? What's the rush what's the need for speed?
Well, and it's prisoner's dilemma, isn't it? It's like, which I always quote, and actually can't remember the exact way that works. But anyway, prisoner's dilemma basically says, like, if I don't build it, you're going to, so I might as well build it.
Yeah.
I think it's about escaping. So like, I think the prisoner's dilemma is basically, someone can tell me I've got this completely wrong, but like, if we're both in prison and I'm planning to escape, and if I try and escape,
this is from the world of economics.
Am I telling it right?
I can't remember it.
But it's like, if I try and escape and you're going to get blamed, you might as well try and escape because they're going to lock down the prison.
If I don't do it, you're going to do it anyway. Yeah, basically.
And that's what's happening with the AI companies, right? And so you have a lot of actors who I guess are trying to say, well, we're the good guys in this, and you don't want, do you want Musk's AI to win? Personally, no.
I think there's a bigger systemic problem that we need to solve if we really want to stop this from happening, and it's breaking up big tech. And I know we've had so many unpopular views around this topic, but actually, if the likes of Google, Microsoft, and Meta were not allowed to grow in the way that they are and own every company and just acquire these companies as soon as they start growing, and we break up that monopoly and we create more competition and more decentralization, actually that puts control back into the people's hands.
But is the toothpaste out the tube? Because you can now build with so much less. These models are on an exponential curve.
But they're all building on top of 3 or 4 main companies.
No, I agree with you on that. And I do think I think regulation has to be the answer. I think we've got to completely change.
But how can you regulate what you don't understand? And I think that's the governments today.
I agree that is a huge issue. But there are experts in this field who've been talking about it for a long time who they could bring in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they need to. And I think where I come down on this, I guess, is where the article lands. I do personally believe there is an inevitability to this because it's such a global development play, because it is such a race to create. I don't see at the moment how we stop it or slow it without mass intervention at a global government level that we're struggling to see kind of global agreement on some pretty cool things.
But then does this widen the gap between poverty and wealth inequality?
Yeah.
Or does it close the gap because now we can all be doing more strategic things, can be using our time better as humanity because AI is taking care of more of the work?
I think we can't pretend it doesn't do both. Like, I think to your point, in some aspects, it absolutely will make it so that anyone can build an app without going and raising investment. Anyone can access, a bit like the World Wide Web, right? It was an amazing equalizer, and it also has reinforced who has access because of who has infrastructure to be able to access, who has money to be able to invest. Like, I think it does both.
Do we need to rethink money and trading of value? Because I feel like if money wasn't an issue, we didn't have to pay for things in the way that we do today, would we be seeing AI actually as more of a good rather than a negative? But it's the fact that it's going to create this wealth inequality, this poverty, this, that we're actually having issues with it.
And I think, look, there is a world.
This is very theoretical.
I know.
Right now.
And this is, I think, my challenge back to you is like, there's a world where I would love to have a discussion about, like, there's this idea of degrowth. We're always aiming to like grow the economy, get more money. Capitalism is geared that way, and we should just throw it out. And I'm kind of like, sure, on a theoretical level, like, and I'm not sure I disagree, even though someone who works in entrepreneurship, which is basically capitalism, condensed. But practically, I guess there'll be a lot of people listening who are like, that's an interesting debate, sure, but what the hell do I do if it's coming for my job? Because I think this is the problem, is that, like, at one level it's an incredibly theoretical debate that should be had, but at the other level, and it's where I liked the article, I feel like he had some really practical things for people to look at. So some of the things he was arguing was around, please do pay for a model and play with it. Like, please don't be left behind. Like, if you can possibly afford it, it is an investment. I really strongly believe it's worth making.
But if you can't afford it, it's a problem there.
No, hugely. So it's definitely an if you can afford it. But if you can, there are things I would cut instead because this is... And tied to that financially.
There probably needs to be something there around how to play.
Yeah.
How do I play with these models? What should I do if I've paid for this model? What kind of things can I use it for?
Yeah.
How do I get up skill on this?
Yeah.
And there's obviously a lot of YouTubes and videos you can watch and stuff, but people probably need help with just getting started.
And actually what I would suggest is have a conversation with a model about that, because actually they're really good at helping you. So ask it to ask you questions to help you get started. They're conversational. So if you can have a conversation with a person, you can start using them.
It's not a search engine like Google and stuff where you just put in a phrase. You don't need to watch a video course.
The prompting is so much better. Like, yes, there are better ways to prompt, but they're getting so much better at reading us that you can start with a bad prompt. Like, don't overthink it.
Yeah, just
start having a conversation. I think the other thing is, the point it makes well is, if you think your job is under threat, start saving for a period of financial uncertainty. Because actually pretending that this isn't a real thing that could come for our jobs is not going to help anyone who isn't building a buffer right now. And again, appreciate that lots of people are in a cost of living crisis. It is super hard to do that, but that doesn't mean the advice is wrong.
Emergency fund.
And then try and play with it and do explore whether there is a application of it that could allow you to do something that you've always dreamt of but never been able to do. That's the optimistic part, but let's also do some protection around it.
Last question for you personally. Are you more optimistic about this technology or pessimistic?
I really yo-yo, if I'm being honest, because I work with, I see so many entrepreneurs using it to look at how we can solve cancer fast, cure cancer faster, or treat cancer faster, which obviously I'm like, that's amazing. And I see people being able to do so much more with so, like, I do find it very inspiring. Changes my life for the better in the day to day. But net, I think it, because of the way we're allowing it to roll out, I think it is going to hurt so many people. I think that's going to cause huge societal volatility that we are not in a place to absorb. And I think it is going to destroy lives, at least in the short to medium term, if not destroy humanity in the long term.
I believe you can't detach the technology from the companies, and that's why I'm pessimistic, because they're behind all the social medias, they're behind a lot of the technology we know today. So they're just going to carry on down the same road. It's just more of this. It just accelerates that path.
And it does, to your point, feel like the opposite of what happened with the World Wide Web, right? Which was created and given away for free. And doesn't mean the founder hasn't done very well for himself from his other companies, but actually the money motivator does completely change the terms on which it's being built. And I think that is the issue. And I guess our call to people is like, we can ostrich this, we can want to bury our heads in the sand, but for me, it really feels like the toothpaste out the tube, and we need to not sit in paralysis. We need to take back some agency. And Andy, I do think you're right to challenge that. I'm not suggesting everyone has to be on the £90 a month version. There are cheaper, kind of still paid for. You'll still get access to the kind of more recent models. But I do understand that for some people who are genuinely petrified that feels like an expense they can't make right now. I guess what is our advice to them? Because it feels like I don't want to water down that I do think we somehow need to make this a priority, but are there ways that AI can help us do that?
I think one way is paying for it as a household or as a group of friends.
Nice.
Like, can you club together with 5 other people?
Share a login.
Share a login.
Yeah.
And I know they won't like us saying this, but everyone did it with Netflix. So if you're doing it for entertainment, you might as well do it for the betterment of yourself.
Such a good one.
And just share a login, and £20 a month, you can get onto some of these plans of Claude and whatnot, with Anthropic. So just £20 a month, and actually make it a social experience.
Yeah.
Let's learn how to use it together through asking Claude, like, okay, this is my day today. This is what I do in a week. Where can you help me on these tasks? Maybe something simple like that. Or this is what my day looks like tomorrow. What do you think you can help me with when you look at my day tomorrow?
That's really nice.
Simple questions like that, just to gain curiosity and learn.
Yeah.
I'm planning to go on holiday in 3 months. What can you help me? How can you help me in terms of planning for this holiday?
And also, I think if it feels like it still feels like unreachable, we don't have friends who want to pool it, then maybe getting the free version of some of these tools to help you make a bit of a budget. And and also to say, and
to help you budget so you can save to even afford it in the first place, And
then also you're still getting used to a tool in the process. You're still starting to see how it can help you.
Feels like there needs to be an AI for free project. How can you democratize access to make it more accessible?
And I think the other thing you can do is look for articles that explain what people are doing with the paid ones. So even if you can't play with it, there are people writing Substacks, sharing YouTubes.
Even on Instagram Shorts, TikTok Shorts.
Because then at least what you're not going to be shocked by is its capability.
Great.
And what you're then not blind to is what parts of your job is it coming for. Yeah. And so, yes, you can't maybe afford to play with it yet at the paid level.
From what others are doing.
But you're not, it's not a blind spot.
Great. Love it.